It's not just governments that have a responsibility to resolve crises. It's really the conglomerate momentum of dedicated individual citizens. And this is particularly true in a democracy, to demonstrate our faith. Our faith in ourselves, our faith in each other, and our faith in God. That's what Habitat means to me.
That was the late President Jimmy Carter talking about one of his life's greatest passions, volunteering for Habitat for Humanity. President Carter and his wife, Rosalind, volunteered with the organization every year from 1984 all the way to 2019, helping to build, renovate, and repair homes for those in need. Joining us now to discuss the legacy of President Carter, the CEO of Habitat for Humanity International, Jonathan Reckford. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So please take us to the beginning here. How did the relationship between Habitat for Humanity and former President Carter begin, and how did that relationship flourish into the two almost becoming synonymous?
Well, it really, of course, was an incredible blessing for Habitat for Humanity. When President and Mrs. Carter retired back to Plains, Habitat for Humanity was headquartered in Americus right next door, and Habitat staff were going to church at Maranatha Baptist. And so President Carter got to know them, got to know a little about the organization, but first started volunteering locally in March of 1984. And then everything really changed for Habitat, which was a tiny organization at the time, when that fall, a busload of volunteers from South Georgia went up to New York City and slept in a church basement and rehabbed a tenement building on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And that's really when the world found out about Habitat. No one had ever seen a former president of the United States behaving that way. And that began what became the annual Jimmy Carter Work Project, which later became the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project, very appropriately. But I think it was that sustained service. And President Carter, I think, loved to build. He was a very skilled carpenter. But even more than that, I think it was a tangible way to express his faith. He often said that Habitat for Humanity was the best way he knew to put his faith into action in a very tangible and practical way. And he always felt that he got more out of volunteering than anything he was able to give to it, though we might dispute that.
Jonathan, talk about how this was not some celebrity drive-by thing that the President Carter would do. He would work whether the cameras were there or not, and as you said, he did this for years when it was no longer just a fresh story that he was doing it. There was a real commitment there, and I believe it was deeply rooted in his faith that faith without works is a dead thing.
Very much so. I had the incredible honor of working alongside him for 15 of those years, 35 years, and he was legendary for his work ethic. So one of the things he would always say on the first day after doing an opening devotional in the morning was, I don't want anyone coming by to ask for photos. It was the opposite of the photo op. He said, if you're asking me for a photo, that means you're not working, I'm not working, and the person with the camera's not working. So we'll have time for photos at the end of the week, but this is all about building these houses with these families. And I think for him, he cared so deeply about both the quality of the work and the impact of the work would have on the families. And people would always want to be on the Carter House, and I would warn them that that is a great honor, but also comes with a lot of responsibility, because you did not want to get that steely-eyed glare if he thought you weren't working hard enough. And he could be a tough taskmaster, but cared very deeply. And I was with him with some of the most powerful people in the world and some of the least powerful people in the world, and he was always the same person. And I think that example of servant leadership, exemplified by his volunteering with Habitat, really sets such a great example for all of us.
Habitat for Humanity International CEO Jonathan Reckford, thank you for sharing those stories with us this morning. We appreciate it.